Hello everyone and welcome back to another league race. This is the AOR PC GT3 Elite League on Project Cars. We are back for another race here. I am Fizzy, and with me as always is my co-commentator Yorkie065.
Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Fizzy, you were awfully laggy for me there. It could be just my internet connection, I'm not entirely sure. Hopefully people in the stream chat should be able to confirm audio levels and all that stuff. That'd be very, very good and useful. But yes, another race, another week. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, indeed. Your voice is quite laggy for me as well there. So one of us is having some connection issues. I think my stream is going pretty fine, so hopefully it's not me. But I mean, either way, it's not quite ideal. But of course, we are here at round 5 out of this season, and as you can see, it's a bit wet on track. We got some rain on the go here at Road America for this race. It's basically heavy rain, as you can see, and currently watching the drivers, or not champion yet, at least, the championship leader at the moment, Kanuma, leading the championship with 11 points over Kaki after the first 4 rounds, going very hard on the curbs in this qualifying lap is currently on. We are about 4 minutes into this 15-minute qualifying session, and the drivers are just trying to get a grip, get a feel for these conditions, and make the best of it. And Yorkie, what can we say? It's a wet track, and what are the drivers feeling right now?
I'm not entirely sure because you're still lagging for me, so it's quite difficult to understand. Tell you what, if you carry on, I'm going to see if I can sort out the issue, because it seems like it's me and not you.
Yeah. People in the chat saying my voice is fine, which is least. But yeah, if you
I've
can
got
try
you
to.
back.
Oh,
I have you back.
oh,
properly.
amazing! And I have you back. This is
Yes. Beautiful.
Okay.
Cool.
Alright, so anyway, as we've been watching Kanuma go around for his first qualifying lap in this session, and he has taken provisional pole, which is not surprising. He was the first man to actually cross the line for a lap time. But you can see all the times now starting to come in. 4 times now set. We got Kanuma setting the banker lap of a 2 minute 12.1, and then Kaki, of course, comes in and smashes it by a second and a half pretty much, before retiring straight back to the pit lane for another go. He does a 2 minute 10.4, of course. Kagi has won 3 of the 4 races this season, but still isn't leading the championship because Kanuma has been so consistent in his finishes, always on the podium. And yeah, so Kagi is still 11 points behind despite his great performances in all but 1 race. But I guess we have to say, Yorkie, that he, on pure pace, he must be the favourite around here, even though we never know what will happen in the rain.
Yeah, of course. I think Kaki does tend to struggle on the rain a little bit. We've seen it in past performances from him, so I'm sure he's probably going to try and turn that around today. Obviously, he's doing good so far with his pole position, but it's very much the race that is going to count. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see who is going to be trying to apply the pressure on him this week. Obviously, Kanuma's up there in 3rd place at the moment, looking very quick, as is Gronstra, currently holding 2nd, 8 tenths off of Kaki at the moment. Dinder seems to be doing pretty good. TonyR up in 5th again. It's nice to see him up towards the top end of the field after a little bit of a slow start to the season. And just looking down through the names, it doesn't really look like there's anyone who's too far out of position. Obviously, only people are popping in their lap times now. We've still got a good 8 minutes and 25 odd seconds to go.
Indeed, and nice to see Dinda on the grid, because he wasn't sure he'd make it after getting a new wheel stand, I think he was. We have 2 drivers missing though, unfortunately. It is a pretty big grid, 26 drivers should be here, but yeah, 2 drivers missing. Papand, unfortunately for him, is not able to make it. He is of course 3rd in the championship going into this race, has had a very good start of the season. We will catch you up all with the full championship standings during the warm-up session after the qualifying is finished, but yeah, unfortunately Papand not here, and also Jellyfish, TonyR's teammate, he's also missing his first race of the season here at Road America. So
Jellyfish should be in. He was in earlier in the practice session.
was he? No, he did say on the forum he shouldn't
Oh,
be
no. Sorry, I'm getting mixed with Dinder. Never mind.
That's fair enough.
As you were. Sorry.
So my information is correct, luckily. And yeah, Martin van der Bent as well, back on the grid after 3 races of being away on holiday. So it'd be interesting to see if he's forgotten how to drive, or if he still knows what it takes to be competitive in this league. He's of course been around here since season 1, and yeah, always nice to see what he can do. Slabutski made his debut last time out. He's currently sitting P8 on the provisional grid, with pretty much half of the session gone here. But so far, no one able to touch Kaki, who still is sitting on that 2 minute 10.4. Gronstra is at least within a second of him now on an 11.3. So Yorkid's not looking too tight right at the front, but certainly further down the field is very, very close sometimes.
Yeah, just currently looking at positions P6 to P8 at the moment. 3 drivers within 5/10 of no, 500ths of a second. Sorry,
Yeah. Wow.
Very, very close between Klassen's Haidaki and Klawitsky at the moment. Just continuing to look down the field. A lot of the guys do seem to be relatively close. It's basically just like a tenth or 2 here and there kind of gaps. Pretty much all the way along the boards currently at the moment. Brownski has the slowest time, 5.5 seconds off of Kaki, currently sat in 24th, but Martin van der Bent and Ycoms are yet to set a lap. Martin van der Bent looks like he's on a lap at the moment, as does Ycoms, so we'll probably see those two pop themselves up onto the board somewhere along the line. Today also doesn't look like he's had a clean lap in just yet, 5.5 seconds off the pace as well, currently in 23rd. Just looking up a little bit further up the field. Where's Puff Pirate? Last week's second place man. He's currently P11 at the moment with a 2:13.337. His teammate Remy Boo, who came 3rd, is currently in 17th. So they've got a little bit of work to do this time round. Possibly struggling slightly with the wet conditions, which will obviously help to mix things up a bit.
Yeah, there's certainly some drivers seem very inconsistent depending on what track we go to. For example, we all remember how well Tipple did at Monaco when he qualified his 2nd place, and then on the next race at Brno, I think he was pretty much nowhere in terms of the grid position, and he finished 21st there actually. Then we have the same here today, Puff Pirate and Remibo, 2 podium finishers last time at Brno, and not quite up there here in these conditions at Road America. So the one consistent factor though is of course Kaki. He is right up there at the front as you'd expect him to be. Gronstra and Kanuma also representing. They've also been 2 of the consistent pace setters throughout the season so far. They're all in the top 3 as it stands. As we saying that though, Kanuma is dropped out of the top 3 as the Gronstra's teammate, the Claessens, popped himself up with a 2 minute 11.3, and he's only half a tenth off his teammate actually. Very impressive from Claessens there. To get onto the 2nd row.
Yeah, very good lap by him. I'm sure as we're coming into the final 4 minutes now of this session, these guys are going to start popping in some much quicker lap times. Obviously just popping in a couple of banker laps beforehand, just to basically get themselves somewhere on the grid and get themselves accustomed to these wet conditions as well, where their pace is. So I imagine we'll probably see this grid shuffle around a little bit more with a couple of more position changes in the next few minutes. And just as I say that, TonyR pops himself up to 4th place ahead of Kanuma with a 2:11.675, about 3/10 off of 3rd place at the moment.
Not bad lap time from him. And I saw Stevie in the chat pointed out that he can't believe how fast these times are. It's a wet long track and they're like 6 seconds off the drive pace. And to be honest, that is pretty true. I'm not sure it's quite 6 seconds. I'm gonna check quickly the times, because Kaki took pole here when we were here for the season finale last season in season 4. That time it was a dry track, and he did a 2 minute 3 seconds .2 for pole position. So
not far off.
So he's basically 7 seconds.
6, 7 seconds.
Of that. Yeah. So still very close considering the conditions there, to be honest. So very impressive actually.
Yeah, definitely. And Bransky in the chat. Why is he in the chat? He's saying, "Yeah, you guys
no.
suck. You should be driving. You're down in 20th position. Get yourself higher up the leaderboard, man. Come on, get back in the game and get focused."
Motivational speech from Yoki.
Yes. Sort your stuff out. Today's slotted himself up into 14th. Blue Rat is currently holding 15th at the moment, one of the Project Cars developers actually. And he was looking good last week with a 15th place, but unfortunately dropped out during, it was either the end of qualifying or during the warm-up session, and wasn't able to get back into the lobby. So unfortunately, could have been a very good result for him, wasn't to be. It was such a shame. We have adjusted our format as to how we run these events to try and get more people in more reliably for these race sessions, and hopefully it works. So far everything seems to be working well, touch wood.
Yep, touch wood indeed, as Kaki is about to cross the line for another lap time. Does not improve though, I think. Still on a 2-minute 10.4. Retires back to the pits, is clearly happy with that effort. Monster at 6.5 tenths behind him as the closest man still. Canuba's dropped to 5th, as you mentioned, with TonyR moving up to 4th. Ycoms now in P6 back in the garage. Dinja down in 7th after being up on the 2nd row earlier in the session. And any other interesting names? It all seems pretty standard stuff.
No, I'm going to say the top 8 are now currently locked in position. Klawitsky, Rhaegor, Mini Black, Centro, AJ, Ramibu, Andrex, Nostra are the only drivers on track at the moment. And obviously if someone goes out on track now, they're not going to be able to make it round in time to get a new lap.
Ooh. Did get a new lap in, and he pops himself up to P5 in his second race in this league.
Ooh,
2-minute
nice.
11.7 lap time for him. Let's see if anyone else is out. I'm going to stick to this third-person camera, even though it's not the most realistic. I'm going to stick to it because the camera on the pit straight, just like last season, isn't quite working for me, unfortunately. Annoyingly. Rhaegor is crossing the line, but didn't improve, I don't think. Still P10.
That is a garage. Centro, AJ, Ramibu, and Andrex.
Yep.
Seem to be the only 4 drivers on track at the moment. AJ's now just gone back into the garage.
And Centro, unfortunately, I think is just a bit too far back to get his lap time in there. He's only got 10 seconds, and he's still got 2 corners and a straight to go. So Centro is not going to improve from his P18 then. This is where we are in terms of the grid. You can see it here. Kaki on pole position once again, ahead of Perry Grunster on the front row. Klassen's TonyR on the second row there. Kavlavutsky up to P5 in the end. Kanuma then in 6th. Ycoms, Dindaes, Hideaki and Rhaegor in the top 10. And then the rest of the names you can see for yourself as usual. It's a bit too much to read through in 18 seconds. But it's an interesting grid, I think we can say. Unfortunately, as it looks like Kaki has got a pace on everyone again. But we do remember Imola last season, when it was raining. Kaki made quite a few uncharacteristic mistakes around there. You never know quite what the rain will do.
The way I'd like to see it turn out is probably Gronstra, Kaki, and then TonyR. I think TonyR's with a pretty good shout of getting onto the podium this time.
Yep.
We've actually gone to the race session as well, so everyone looks like they're ready. And we are getting ourselves lined up for the formation lap.
It's good to see. Hopefully everyone remembers to stay still, and they do. Nice one. A manual rolling start, of course, it is in this league, as those of you who will watch the first few races will be very familiar with by now. So let's see if I can... It shows Kaki, although it says I'm... Let's focus on me. There we go. So Kaki, from pole position, has pulled off the grid to lead the field around this formation lap. It's of course a pretty... It's going to take a couple of minutes, this. Probably around 3 at least minutes, given it's a pretty long lap to begin with, over 2 minutes. Then of course the wet conditions, meaning that everyone will just have to be a little bit more careful than normal. Of course, everyone apart from Kaki will have the spray in their face, pretty much, which hopefully won't lead to any mistakes on the formation lap. I'd like to think everyone is able to keep enough of a gap to each other and be sensible enough to avoid that from happening. Certainly not helping though. You can see whole field strolling down. Probably the longest straight on the track, unless it's the start-finish straight, I'm not quite sure. But one of the managed straights on here, which should provide some great passing action.
Yeah, I would have said the start-finish straight is actually a little bit longer. This is where we could potentially see the field starting to back up coming into this next left-hander, so hopefully everyone gives each other enough space and enough room to get through without the field backing up too much. Looking very, very nice though with these wet conditions. Everyone looks to have their lights on. There are a couple of cars that I saw that didn't seem to have their lights on at the moment, but that could just be a visual thing for us rather than them not actually having lights on. So yeah, it's certainly looking like a very nice field indeed as they thread their way through. Hopefully the guys have managed to maintain some temperature in the tyres. It's quite difficult to do so on a formation lap like this. Yeah. Especially in the wet conditions, the tyres will cool down a fair bit quicker.
Yeah. In terms of the predictions in the chat, we got obviously, surprisingly, some shouts for Kaki to win. We got a shout for Tony, that is our reigning champion, F1 Masa, who thinks Tony has a chance there. Steve is saying Brownski P1, AJ P2, Andrex P3. Considering their starting positions, I'm not quite sure how realistic that is, but that would be amazing fun if that were to happen. Macy third from Ricky Brush there. Tony Perry and Irvin, I assume that's Claessens. We're going to focus on this now, as we can see. Not the best camera here, showing the front wing view of, or front bumper view of Kaki's car. But here we go. Everyone now starting to line up into 2x2 formation. And then, of course, trying to get through this final couple of bends. We know problems, hopefully, before they will blast off for the race start on the start-finish straight.
Indeed. Hopefully everyone's frame rates are all good. Mine did drop a moment just there as I saw all the spray and all the lights.
Yeah.
Doing so again, but hopefully it's not too bad for the guys. And now this start is going to be very, very interesting. The first part of the acceleration zone is at the bridge at the very top of the hill. Now if Kaki wants a pretty good run down towards turn 1, he'll probably do it immediately as he gets to that bridge in order to... Oh, actually, he does that exactly, and he goes straight away. The guys launching themselves down the line. TonyR is getting a pretty good jump and has slipped himself up into third position, gaining 1 position already. Now looking to the inside of the Z4 in front of him as he comes down on the run towards turn 2. This is where he unfortunately lost it last season as the Z4 goes deep. TonyR looks like he's managing to stay on the track and he's slipped himself up into P2 already. The two Z4s are side by side as they come on the run down towards turn 2. A lot of the guys behind it looks like it's been all relatively clean so far. A couple of guys going side by side, maybe a little bit of contact there in the middle towards the back. Not entirely sure who that was. Picking up now looks like Puff Pirate, Fred, and it's not today, it's Mini Black. All three of them very, very close together. We've got a couple of three ways here and there. A little bit of contact between a number of drivers. It looks like today's just gone into the wall through contact. Is there on the grass trying to keep the car under control. He's been shoved off to one side, and now the guys slow themselves down into this very tight left-hander. A little bit of action already, a little bit of bumper-to-bumper, wheel-to-wheel action as well.
That you were keeping us up to date with what was going on in the back of the field, because I was watching Kanuma passing Perry Gronstra there for P4 in the race. Gronstra has dropped 2 positions from his starting spot, first to his teammate Claessens, of course, out of the first couple of corners, and then to Kanuma as well, who got a great run down that straight towards turn 5 and then made the move stick under braking. So he's now in P4. Already a tiny bit of gap forming ahead of him as he's trying to keep himself ahead of Gronstra, who we know has got great pace, of course. Let's just jump down the field a little bit. Obviously this kink not at all one you want to go side by side with anyone through, certainly not in these conditions. There was a car very wide there. Who was that?
Yep, that was Haidaki. I was just cut through him straight away and he's gone and lost the position as well to both Nozdra and Rhaegor as well. Both of them slipping in front. Now Nozdra's trying to look down the inside of Rhaegor, going a little bit deep there. Rhaegor trying to get the undercut, and they're both side by side once again as they come in towards the penultimate corner. Looks like Rhaegor's managed to slip himself ahead of the Bentley of Nozdra. Haidaki is currently holding on to 11th, but he's got a number of cars swarming all over his rear bumper as he gets very, very close to the back of Nozdra in front of him as they now come up towards the start-finish line to finish their first flying racing lap.
Indeed, and unfortunately I got the camera bug, which actually it's basically showing Kaki, who regardless of which driver I'm watching, went down the main straight there. But let's now see no positions changes at the front of the towards the front after the first few, and of course Kaki is starting to pull a gap at the front as he's done so many times. He just seems to be in a bit of a class of his own right now, but TonyR is also driving the McLaren. They're in the same equipment, he and Kaki. He has got about 2 to 3 seconds on him at the moment. So the question remains if TonyR does have what it takes to catch up to him. For now, all he can do is just try to keep focused and hit those apexes, hit the braking points, and do the best lap times that he possibly can. Claessens and Kanuma not far behind him, it must be said. Gronstra dropping a little bit back at the moment, and then he's got Klavuski all over him as well. So some pretty close scraps here on the second lap of the race. Let's see if we can find some side-by-side action further down the field. Just seems to be a long snake following each other right now, all the way down to 17th place pretty much. Then there's a little gap down to Dangerous Janetta in the Janetta.
Ramy Boo just ran very deep there. He did have Mini Black pressuring him earlier on. They were going side by side through turn 2, I believe, but I think Ramy Boo just about managed to hold on to that one. The two Z4s running very deep, but both Ramy Boo and Mini Black, and also Puff Pirate as well, running a little bit deep in the left-hander before that long right-hander that they've just been through. They're now coming into the very fast left-handed kink that I imagine is a little bit of a lift here in these wet conditions. There's an awful lot of spray to the guys coming off the cars in front of them.
Yeah, you can see it there.
Watching Mini Black at the moment. A couple of guys looking like they're getting relatively close under braking, but so far able to keep it relatively clean and out of each other's bumpers.
Yeah, and visibility, of course, is very difficult for these guys in these conditions. You have to remember, certainly most of these guys are driving from the cockpit view, of course, meaning they are, the view is hindered a little bit from the cockpit as well, and then you have the water dripping onto the windscreen and the windscreen wipers going up and down, and all the spray from the car ahead. It's certainly pretty damn tricky to see exactly where everyone is. Luckily, obviously the GT cars have those red lights that flash up more in the braking zone to help. It would be even harder if it was open wheel cars, for example, that we're driving here at the moment. But just jumping down the field. Jinda S is pretty close behind Ycoms at the moment. Let's see if that is a potential move. He's going to dive up the inside. No, he backs out of it. Ycoms late enough on the brakes in that Bentley, that massive Bentley, to prevent Jinda from making that move up the inside. And they're going both very hard over those exit curbs. It's a little bit surprising that it doesn't unsettle the cars more than it does, to be honest, when it jumps over the curbs like that. But so far they seem to be coping quite well, as I'm just skipping onto Gronstra, who was correcting a little bit out of that corner. And then Kalwutski as well, very hard on those curbs. You can see the cars kind of sliding about ever so slightly on some of these corners here, but no spins at the moment, as far as I've seen.
Yeah, the movement that you see over the curves is exaggerated from how it actually is for them, so it does look a little bit worse than what the driver's actually feeling. But these curbs will affect you if you do catch it wrong. You do have to be very careful about how you place your wheels on the curbs, as it can unsettle the car. Probably not as much as you would expect it to, as Gronstra goes a tiny little bit deep there on the exit of that tight right-hander. It's quite deceptive, that one. You think you can take a little bit more speed for it than what you first may anticipate, but yeah, it kind of catches you out on the exit as it does tighten up a little bit. I did just see there in the foreground as well, whilst I was watching Gronstra, that Claessens was getting very close to the back of Kanuma.
Yep.
They're coming down the start-finish straight.
Didn't get the best exit though.
No, I think he ran a little bit deep into the final turn. I saw Ramy Boo doing that as well, and him actually being an actual racing driver as well. He does actually race in the real world. He probably was trying to take a bit more of a wet line, which does work in project cars, but it's an interesting trade-off, because there is more grip offline, but the actual racing line itself is the quicker way around the circuit. So you've got to be picky about when and where you actually use it.
Yeah. Most of you will have seen it already, but of course Kanuma has made a pass on Claessens, which I hadn't. I think that must have happened off camera, because I can't remember seeing it. So he's up to P3, defending now from those two boys in the BMW Z4. TonyR going very wide up there, actually, just in front of them. And I have some inside info in the chat. Martin28BLN saying that Tony has got no force feedback.
Oh dear.
Apparently. So, which makes it even more impressive, the fact that he's able to keep his car in P2 right now. But that's not going to make it any easier to keep up with Kaki, of course, who already has a 5-second gap down to Tony at the moment. And you can just see, I think the cars behind are just closing ever so slightly, a few tenths maybe here and there. Let's have a quick look at the previous lap times, which are actually proving me wrong, because on the previous lap TonyR was faster just about than the cars following him. But let's see after this lap then what he will be. For now, everyone kind of holding station towards the front of the field. It's of course, in these conditions, in one way it's going to be harder to make a pass, because you know, you're not quite as confident in the car, you're focusing more on the track actually. But speaking of not being able to make passes, Kanuma is really forced to go defensive now into the final corner. Can Claessens get a good exit this time? He seems to have gotten very pretty much half his car alongside already out of the corner. Kanuma was hard on the curb, but that doesn't Martin. You can just look at that straight line speed. He was pulling ahead despite the worst exit of the corner there. And I don't think Claessens, unless he wants to be super brave off the inside air, is going to be able to make the move stick just about yet.
No, that kind of worked into Claessens' favour, as actually, as he was performing a little bit of the switchback there, coming through the final corners, he has a little bit of look to the inside of Kanuma here into the next braking zone of turn 2. Yeah, he was off the racing line on the outside initially, and then when he switched back, he would have been inside the racing line, so off it again. And obviously that would have given him a little bit of extra grip, which is where he got that extra drive coming out the final corner. But the pull from the Aston Martin, obviously going up the hill as well, and then the advantage that the Aston Martin has in a straight line over the Z4 just allowed it to eke out a little bit of a gap, even under slipstream, with Claessens tucked up underneath the rear wing of Kanuma, but it now looks like Gronsstra's wanting to get involved as well and close right up onto the back of his teammate Claessens, and would be wanting to get into a third position as soon as possible. It looked like Claessens there may have had a slight moment and made contact with the back of Kanuma. I'm not entirely sure. There may have been a little bit. There's actually a lock up there and contact between all three drivers, in fact, as Claessens goes into the back of Kanuma, pushing him out wide, and that's going to allow Gronstra to go up into third position. Gronstra did make contact with the back of Claessens, his teammate, but really Claessens should be letting off a little bit here and letting Kanuma go back past, as he was the one who initiated all that. But that's also gone on board Klawitsky up onto the back of these guys as well, as Claessens goes and runs out wide across the grass on the exit there. Surely that's going to work in the Aston Martin's favour. Both Kanuma and Klawitsky slide past, and now also Ycoms as well. Claessens dropped down into 7th position, so that mistake is going to cost him dearly. It looks like Klawitsky has not been able to take advantage of Kanuma being slightly slower at the moment. He's all over the back of him, as is Claessens all over the back of Ycoms now, and Dinder not too far behind as well. But it seems to me that Kanuma's starting to struggle in this final sector. Everywhere else he seems to be pretty quick. It's just that final sector.
Yeah, it's you mentioned Claessens, that he should have lifted off to let Kanuma pass through after making that incident happen. That is as per the AOR rules, of course. I don't think he certainly, if that running wide was to let him back through, I don't think he performed that quite well. I would assume that's just a mistake on his part. We will never know whether he actually intended to let him back through, but for now though, it does mean that he's dropped down to 6th position. Kanuma has dropped down to 4th, obviously, losing out to Gronstra as a result of that incident as well. So Claessens, even though he's ended up costing himself in the end, he's really helped his teammate by, you would assume, accidentally tapping the back of Kanuma. Klawitsky was very close to slipping past Kanuma as well, but didn't quite manage to make it stick, and now has to focus on Claessens behind him, more so than challenging Kanuma at this moment in time. But yeah, it does seem like Kanuma is struggling a little bit here. The championship leader, of course, is struggling a little bit with the pace, certainly, of the guys in front of him at the moment. So, interested to see whether he can fight back with that. I mean, obviously we are seeing quite a variety of cars up here at the front. We're seeing the Aston Martin of Konuma. We're seeing quite a few BMW Z4s in the top part of the field at the moment, and then of course Kaki and TonyR are the top 2 in the McLarens. So is there any particular car out of those 3, Yoki, that you'd say have an advantage in these conditions?
I don't know. It's really quite difficult to say. I would have said McLaren's probably the stronger car out of the 3 that you've listed around this circuit. The Z4 obviously works very, very well in the wet and on the corners, but there are some quite big long straights around Road America here, and coming out the final corner as well, you've got that hill to contend with before you actually get to the start-finish line, which will obviously work in favour of the cars that do have a bit more pull, like the Aston Martin and also the McLaren. But the Aston Martin just tends to struggle in the rain anyway. It's quite an understeery car set up by default. You can dial it out and induce some more oversteer into the car, but I would have said overall the McLaren is probably the stronger car out of the 3 in these conditions on this track for sure.
Very interesting.
But Kowalski's got Claessen's down the inside of him through turn 1, and now also coming down towards turn 2 is going to be the latest of the late breakers. They both break at exactly the same time. Kowalski is still on the outside, a tiny little bit of a brush there between the 2 drivers. Where is the camera trying to flick round? It looks like Claessen's has managed to slot himself up into 5th. So he's working his way back through the field. Ycoms did make a mistake earlier, which did allow Claessen's through as well, I should add.
Yeah, so a little bit forceful of us, I guess. A tiny bit of wheel banging there, but I think that was just about fine. A bit of a hard racing from Claessen's, who bounces all over those curbs once again. Kowalski still though having a pretty solid effort at the moment, as for some reason he's showing Konuma's car. Basically whatever car I'm selecting right now. Here we go, Kowalski back on board with him. Yeah, made his debut last week. He was looking very promising for pace in the practice session, but didn't quite have the race he would have wanted for his debut. Ended up finishing in 19th position and not actually scoring any points. But so far in this race, though, he's on course for a solid points finish. Claesen looked to become very wide there, ahead of him through the carousel, but I guess that's just the differing lines that we're seeing through there. The carousel, probably the trickiest corner on the track in the sense that it's so many different ways to take it. You kind of need to find the way through that corner that you feel the most comfortable with. It's possible to really take the whole corner pretty tight, or you can fly in, go wide on the middle part and cut back to the apex. It's a very fun corner to drive, I must say. As we are currently watching Dinda, Kaki's teammate, trying to cling onto that top 8 train right now. Ycoms just ahead of him. And Kowalski. Claessen's now trying to close the gap to Konuma again. Could see some more sparks flying there potentially if those 2 get back together after the contact that I had previously. TonyR, despite his apparent force feedback issues, still holding on to P2. The gap to Kaki probably around, it's certainly extended. Probably around 12 seconds, I'd imagine. So we kind of need Kaki to make a mistake here in the rain, like he did a few times at Imola last season, if you want a battle for the lead to happen. But of course, when Kaki does have this pace advantage, Yorkie, he doesn't really need to push that hard. He can kind of just focus on exactly that to not make a mistake and just keep the car on track.
Yeah, obviously without that pressure of people around you, you just kind of tend to forget everything, like you said, and just focus on your own race. You make sure you're nailing the apexes, the braking points, and just working your way around the track at a steady pace and not really having to overthink things too much. Obviously drive best with a clearer mind, and I'm sure he very much has that at the moment. Currently watching TonyR, he was 4 tenths slower than Gronstra, who's coming up behind him, but seems to be very, very smooth and more relaxed than we've seen him in the past at the moment. He's quite nice sweeping lines that he is currently taking, despite the lack of the force feedback that we've heard from the stream chat. But he drives with quite an interesting position within the car as well. His camera is kind of situated on the dash, so without the distractions of the motec displaying in the car and also the hands and the wheel rotating around, it could be aiding him in terms of, you know, being able to tell what the car is doing underneath him just visually, and also from an audio point of view with the amount of roll and bumps and slides, rotation, whatever you may have.
All the good features, but yeah, it's yeah, that's just preference, isn't it? All the drivers have their own preference in terms of the camera view. I'm pretty sure when I was racing these cars, I just pretty much used the default cockpit view, pretty much. Didn't think about messing too much around with it, but then you have people like TonyR, of course, who have gone to gone and changed it quite a bit from the default, and found something that he feels works better for him. So, as I'm just giving back onto the battle for fourth position there, Kanuma and E. Claessens, and they are very close together once again. And Claessen's the man chasing, just like it was last time. That time, of course, it was for P3. After the incident they had previously, Gronstra has that position now, and these guys will have to battle it out for P4 instead. Can Claessens keep his cool this time around? Can he act the patience that is required here? Kanuma is leaving so much room there. I don't think there was any contact there, but Kanuma went so wide. Obviously, Claessens did show himself very much in the mirror going through that corner. Maybe Kanuma got scared off the road a little bit. Just wanting to make sure to leave enough room just in case Claessens were to go for it like he did the previous occasion. But he just went too wide and instead ended up on the grass and lost out. So yeah, that means he's basically made it so that Claessens made quick work on that one. At least with no contact this time, but Kanuma will surely be a bit frustrated, Yorkie, with how we let that happen.
Yeah, very nice little fake manoeuvre there by Claessens. Like I said, just presenting himself in the mirror of Kanuma. Probably took his eye off his braking point and lost his point of reference, and then obviously running a little bit deep there and just giving up the position. So I imagine Claessens, it looks like that he's the faster out of the two between him and his teammate as well. So I imagine he's probably going to try and push and see if he can close up onto the back of Gronstra. Just going to take a little bit of a look down the field as well. Rhaegor's currently in 9th position with Remy Boo in 10th. These two are pretty spread out. Mini Black spread out between him as well. Tipple and it looks like Puff Pirate are going side by side here through the second to last turn, and now coming up towards the final turn itself. I believe that's Tipple actually gaining a position up into 12th ahead of Puff Pirate, I believe, as they now come down the start-finish straight. Puff Pirate underneath the rear wing of Tipple's roof at the moment. They've got a little bit of a gap to Mini Black in front. I wonder if Puff Pirate is going to see if he can try and make a move coming into turn 1, presenting himself in the mirror, but doesn't look like he's going to be attempting it just there. So he's probably going to try and just focus on getting a good exit out of here, getting a good run down towards turn 2, and then getting a good run through there. And his next best opportunity will probably be into turn 3 at the bottom of the hill, the end of this straight, and the next heavy braking zone. But it does look like he's actually gone and lost a little bit of ground there as well.
Yep. And stupidly, as we established last season, I think, at some point in the commentary, this is not turn 3 that we're coming into, it's turn 5, because American tracks designers are... Oh, I see he runs very deep there, actually, nearly hitting the back of Tipple.
Yeah, it looked like he just locked up under braking, and a slight wiggle there, and yeah, very, very close to the back of the roof.
I think you basically run wide intentionally there just to not cause an incident, which is obviously the preferable outcome out of those two options.
Yep.
But yeah, as mentioned, actually the straight after turn 1 is called turn 2 for some reason, and then you have the straight after turn 3 is called turn 4. So that's that on that one. As Puff Pirate also taking a very wide line through the carousel and then cutting back towards the apex right on the exit. Get as early as possible on the throttle. Still keeping pretty close behind Tipple, but for now I have contention to make it pass. So let's have a check back on TonyR. He's just running in the final corner. Gronstra as well, and yeah, you're right, Yorkie. Claessens is really closing the gap on him. Based on qualifying pace, they were very close, weren't they?
Yeah.
But now Claessens is closing. He's closing. They're in the same car. Probably similar setups, I'd imagine, considering their teammates. But Claessens blasting past him with a little bit of slipstream help into turn 1 there. Can he make that move stick? He can indeed. I don't think Grunster was fighting that all too hard. So Claessen's up into P3, the position he was trying to get previously before he made that mistake of hitting Kanuma. Now he's finally got there. And he's got only about 2 seconds up to TonyR, who's still driving around with no force feedback. So can Claessen's catch up to him? It's a long race still. We are not even halfway through the race. It was 28 laps, wasn't it, at the start, including the formation lap, and now we still have 16 and a bit to go.
Yep.
So, yeah, can Claessen's close the gap? That's something we'll have to keep an eye on. Kanuma just seems to be a little bit off the pace of those guys on the previous lap. Kanuma was actually gaining on Grunster, but look at Claessen's time on the previous lap. He matched Kaki, actually. Both of them doing a 2 minute 12.2, Kaki and Claessen's. TonyR, on the other hand, was 1.1 seconds slower than Claessen's. So on that pace, Claessen should catch up within just a couple of laps. But of course, we know it's one thing to do one super good lap, it's another thing to do those kind of laps consistently.
Yeah, definitely. It's I imagine he's probably going to do another similar lap time again now that he's got the clear air and jumped his teammate. You can see the gap that he's already pulled in this half a lap or so, and he's starting to close down on TonyR already, showing some really good strong pace in these conditions. He must have set up pretty much bang on and got the tyre pressures absolutely perfect to get a really nice balance between grip and also tyre longevity, which will obviously be key around this circuit. I imagine these guys will probably try and do a single stopper. I'm not too sure how the wet tyres will hold up, whether they can do the entire race distance. I don't believe they will be able to, especially with corners like the carousel along the back section. The camera goes funny once again, keep forgetting about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Claessen's doing a 2:12.004.
Wow, that is
very
super
fast
lap.
Yeah, especially 13 laps into a stint as well, or 12 racing laps, and he's gone and taken 1.7 seconds out of TonyR on that lap alone.
That's less than, that is more than the gap between them right now, so won't be long then until, if he keeps it up, until he'll be right with Tony. Claessen's showing incredible pace here in the wet conditions, and you were mentioning the tires actually, Yoki. I mean, we have the 2 times tire wear on still at the moment at this moment in time, but on these wet tires, how is the wear? Will these guys have to pit with the wet tires?
I imagine so. I believe they're a little bit more durable than the soft tyre, but only slightly, not a massive amount. It entirely depends on how much you are actually spinning up the wheels. I always found personally that I was able to eke out the wet tyres quite a long time. The Zolder race in Season 3 is a perfect example of that, and much better tyres than the guys around me. Unfortunately, I disconnected. But yeah, it kind of tends to vary from driver to driver. It entirely depends on their driving style. I've actually dropped down further along the field. I've also seen in the Twitch chat as well that Brownski has unfortunately retired from the race. I believe he had a disconnect, his internet dropping out. And Brownski's also actually saying that yes, they can zero stop. Ooh. So that'll be interesting to see if anyone does make us stop or not. Having a little bit of a look further down the field as well, there seems to be a little bit of a train from 14th position onwards. Included in that is Centro, currently in 14th, Andrex in 15th, Blue Rat in 16th. He was 14th about a lap or 2 ago. I did take a quick look. Oh,
we have a pitter. TonyR is pitted. I think Brownski said in the chat that maybe the reason Claessen was so fast is because everyone else is tired saying being to do zero stopper, but clearly Tony, that was not the reason he was catching Tony, because Tony's just pitted. So that is very interesting indeed. Everyone else at the moment seems to be carrying on. We're just going through the field. So yeah, TonyR in the pit box right now. Not getting the best camera angles of this, unfortunately. For some reason the pit straight cameras seem to be messing up around here. But here we go, TonyR going out of the pits, and he's going to obviously drop way down the field, and he'll be hoping that other drivers will pit as well then, that other drivers will not be able to make it work as a zero stopper. because we know with just 15 laps it'll be hard to catch up for lost time despite having better tires, and it will actually drop in pretty much in that massive 14th place train that you were talking about, Joachim.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. That's pretty unfortunate for Tony. That's not exactly where he's going to want to be, but he may potentially get one place back already, as Dangerous Janetta gave Tony room there on the inside for turn 1 and ran it a little bit out wide. This has allowed Tony to slot up into position, possibly. My camera's gone all funny and I'm now trying to pick Tony back up. Yes, he does lock himself back up into 17th, so that's one position already, but Tony is going to have quite a lot of work to try and get back up through the field, and obviously it's gambling on the fact, like you said, that other people are going to be pitting in front of him so he can make these positions back up. As I'm seeing Silver Arrow very, very close there to the back of Blue Rat for what is now 15th position.
Indeed. So quite a bit of action going on down here towards the lower end of the field, actually. While the guys towards the front were starting to spread out a little bit. I'm quite sad that we didn't quite get to see Claessen's actually pass TonyR on track. But we'll see how that pans out as to whether Claessen will have to pit, or if he somehow with that pace is still able to make it work as a zero stopper. So far, no one else apart from TonyR has pitted as far as I'm aware. And we are pretty much at the halfway stage of the race after this lap. After this lap, I'm pretty much sure we are exactly at the halfway stage, aren't we, Yogi? Unless my brain works in a funny way.
Yes.
Yep. So that's good. Oh, as Silver has dropped from the back of Blue Rat, he was going very wide onto that curb at the kink. TonyR will be pretty happy about that one. I think he's the only man on fresh tires right now, and he will be trying to get through these guys as efficiently as possible to make up for potential lost time from landing into this train in the first place. Let's see. Okay, can you skip up the field a little bit and see if anyone else is actually going in the pit? Well, I'll try to see if Tony can make a move there.
Silver Arrow pits. I'm currently watching Tony is actually going to slide himself past.
No, he doesn't.
Silver Arrow as well, but no, I did take a look up earlier, and as far as I know, I didn't see anyone go into the pits. I'm wondering if Tony dived into the pits hoping that it would also fix his force feedback, potentially.
Yeah,
as
that could be,
there is a slight chance that sometimes it does
yeah.
Tend to fix a force feedback. It'll bring it back again for you, so there may be a chance that he basically just kind of wanted that back and tried to see if that would work. Whether it has for him,
maybe quickly restarted his wheel, maybe. Is that something that tends to do?
Yeah. Yeah, you can also potentially do that in the pits as well. That may also bring it back. Yeah.
So, TonyR, I guess we can probably hear from you after the race if you get him in the interviews, maybe. I'm not sure whether we can, considering he's streaming himself, but it'll be interesting to hear from him. He's now going to make a move on the Blue Rat, as the camera is very much out of focus going through there. There was side by side. Hopefully the camera picks him back up very soon through the next corner. There we go. Oh, there is contact between them. Blue Rat's not been able to keep it tight enough. TonyR not able to leave enough room there. It's hard to really see who was at fault in that one, but Blue Rat and TonyR are coming together with some contact, and TonyR's got to do it all over again. He's dropped behind all the three cars he had already gone past. Blue Rat, of course, dropping 3 positions there as well. Very frustrating for both of them. Blue Rat now on the outside of the carousel, letting TonyR go through this time, I think, and let's go to try to hold it around the outside. No, he backs out of it on this occasion. So both of them from that contact, unfortunately losing out. That will be very frustrating for both drivers there. Certainly halt Tony's progress. Andrex up to 14th. He's really benefited from that, I think, unless he was 14th already. Was he in 14th already? Yeah, I think it was.
He was.
Silver Arrow will be the man.
He benefited from it, yes, and Dangerous Janetta, and also Nostra. Those three.
So, let's look at towards the front again, because just in case some things happen, that means people have closed back up together. We can see Kaki, of course. He's running there. He's lost his previous lap time, 2 minute 11.5, and that was that is his best lap time actually. His previous was at 12.1, but yeah, that just shows the pace. Claessen, so done a 2:11.7 on his previous lap. Claessen's running a slightly better pace than Kaki right now. He's incredibly fast in the rain once he got out of that traffic. He's pulling a gap in second place. Bronstra third. Kanuma in fourth. Those are quite spread out. Klawutski a couple of seconds further back, and then we got Ycoms still in P6. As the camera changes aren't quite working for me. Got Jinder there Rhaegar Ape, Ramibo, and then Mini Black the top 10 as it stands. No immediate battles for positions between those guys, I think.
A little bit further back. Tipple and Puff Pirate are still pretty close
go.
together after battling probably, what, 5, maybe 6 laps ago?
Indeed.
Yep. Sorry, I didn't have much more to say, there.
That's fine, that's fine. Let's see what kind of lines these guys pick through the carousel, because that's always interesting to see. Tipple choosing the tight route, Puff Pirate choosing the wide route, and Puff Pirate gaining time there, gaining ground on Tipple through that corner. The Z4 maybe working better than the rough through the fast turn there, but Tipple managed to pull the gap back on the exit. So, not under any immediate pressure. You can see the gap between them there, and you can just see how much spray Puff Pirate is getting in his face there. When it's a one-on-one battle like this in these conditions, it's always a little advantage to be ahead, to not have to deal with that spray, because Puff Pirate will probably find himself having to pull out of the spray a little bit at times just to see spot his braking points. But yeah, he's dealing with it quite well at the moment. I feel like he went a little bit too hard on that curb and isn't really close enough, I don't think, on this straight to make a move. So let's jump back to TonyR. He's up to 17th now, so he's passed Nonstra since we were last with him, and has got Dangerous Janetta next up on the road. Of course, these guys battling now for 16th position. That is the final points position in the race. Points are awarded down to 15th. And Dangerous Janetta, he's already scored 5 points this season so far. He'll certainly be wanting some more, but TonyR making easy work of that on the exit of the final corner, just buzzing past on the straight. So Janetta will be hoping that something happens ahead of him now for him to get back into the points. Because obviously for these drivers towards the lower end of the championship, even just 1 point can mean the difference between positions. So, next up for TonyR will be Silver Arrow, who is only a couple of seconds ahead, and then Andrex a couple of seconds further ahead from that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how far TonyR can get back up the field, considering no one else still have pitted there, Yoki.
No. I imagine, as Brownski pointed out, with people being able to do the zero stopper, people are going to try and hold out to do that, which would be a real shame for Tony, because obviously he was in second place, he was there for the podium, and then he made the choice to go with the pit stop. It could be that people are basically just trying to hold out for the tyres, and it may get to a point where everyone's tyres just completely drop off. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't done any research into it at all. I'm basically just having to go by what Brownski is saying in the stream chat.
Yeah, give us information, Brownski.
Trusting that he's right. Brownski, give us more reports on the tyres. But
speaking of reports, today's in the chat now, which I feel like is bad news for his race. So
he has retired, as has AJ Haidaki and Martin van der Bent, by the looks of it. Yeah, Martin van der Bent's in the garage. So a couple of retirees. Not entirely sure what happens to them. Obviously, today had the contact earlier. AJ retired on lap 10, and Haidaki and Martin van der Bent have all retired in the same lap as today. So possibly a major accident that we didn't see happen off camera, potentially.
Yeah, maybe. Today saying he had air and suspension damage after turn 2. So
that would have been his earlier incident that he had down the start finish straight.
Craziness that went down at the back of the field while I was focusing on the battle at the front. So yeah, he must have been in the middle of that one, and unfortunately getting damaged. That is of course frustrating for his race. As now actually Andrex has been passed by Silver Arrow in the foreground as I was watching TonyR when looking at the stream chat there. So Silver Arrow making up some ground. Andrex starting to struggle a little bit maybe. I didn't see if he did make a little mistake there. Suddenly it dropped that whole gap. There was about 2 seconds to Silver Arrow just a lap ago at this point, but now he's falling back and falling into the clutches, of course, of TonyR. He's running on that with those fresher tires. So you can just see how much, just through that corner, how much he's closing in. So TonyR has got 2 cars at least soon ahead of him, but ahead of Silver Arrow, it's about 5 or 6 seconds up to Centro, and then from Centro up to Puff Pirate, it's about 10-11 seconds. So for TonyR here in this race to get any further up than 13th, he's gonna have some insane pace when he gets out of the traffic.
Yeah, definitely. Just quickly touching back on Andrex, he is in the M3, which doesn't have ABS, so that could potentially be a potential play as to why he may have dropped back a lot of time, but it's now given the chance for TonyR to get right up onto the back of him. Just reading from what Brownski was saying, he was saying that it's getting 2 to 2.5% tyre wear a lap on the front left. All the other tyres were perfectly fine as TonyR goes and makes a move down the inside of Andrex, making that move stick quite nicely. Andrex giving them the racing room that TonyR needed, and TonyR took it and slotted himself up into 15th place. It's another position gained. Next up is Silver Arrow.
Yep. So TonyR, he's very much in need of points as well, isn't he? He's had a DNF and a DNS previously this season. He's only in 14th place in the championship, which is obviously worse than he would have expected considering he finished third last season. He's not had the best start of the season. Of course, this isn't going to help to force feedback issues, we think. Forcing him to pit when being in P2 of the race will of course just be another frustration to add to the list. And Andrex as well, who just passed, he, on the other hand, he's kind of been the opposite. He's had a very good start of the season, probably better than he expected, up in 4th in the championship, but this time though not having quite the best race. I'm now looking back at the battle between Tipple and Puff Pirate. Those are still close, but still Tipple keeping Puff Pirate just about far enough behind to not give him any chances of diving up the inside anywhere. So I think pretty much in the top 10 everyone is spread out
reasonable distances, yeah.
Over a second between each of the cars up there. Bit of a shame. You'd have hoped, of course, that these conditions makes for some really close battles and more mistakes, but if anything, these conditions just kind of widens the skill gap, doesn't it, really? Because it just makes it harder for these guys.
Yeah, definitely. We may see a little bit more action towards the end as the tyres start to wear down a little bit more, but yeah, it really does show basically where the skill set of these drivers are. Some people absolutely thrive in the wet, some people absolutely hate it as...
Yeah.
Okay, that was lag for me. I thought I saw Dipple losing the position to Puff Pirate. Instead it was just a little bit of lag, and Puff Pirate snapped behind Tipple, but he is still pretty close. It looks like he has closed up a little bit here in the final set turn. Is obviously picking up the slipstream coming down this here start-finish straight, but he's not going to be close enough into turn 1 to make a move unless Tipple makes a horrendous mistake. But even still, Puff Pirate does close up in the braking zone and on the run through that first turn, now coming down towards turn 2, both of them braking at a fairly similar time. Puff Pirate turning in a little bit later, trying to square off the exit of the corner a little bit more, trying to get that run coming out to try and slingshot him down this back straight, but I think the rough has a slight edge over the Z4 in terms of straight line speed. Would have been able to pull away a little bit as they now come into the next braking zone. It looks like Puff Pirate is wiggling around a tiny little bit there in the braking zone. We saw it earlier when he came very, very close to making contact with the back of Tipple. Fortunately, they both managed to avoid kissing bumpers, but yeah, these guys pretty close, and I imagine this is quite an intense battle because neither of them seem to be going anywhere, as Puff Pirate does get pretty close there to the back of Tipple under braking. Slight mistake possibly from Puff Pirate's part, but yeah, they're not pulling away from each other, and they haven't got anyone really around them anywhere near close enough to worry about either.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah, that's the thing. As a driver, within the cockpit of these guys, it'll feel like a much more intense battle probably than what we are feeling just watching it like this, because these guys actually have to do the work of driving the car, and when you have pressure so close behind like Tipple does in these conditions as well, you really need to get all your lines, your braking points, everything spot on to make sure you don't give the other guy an opportunity. And like also with Puff Pirate, he just has to basically nail everything, and even better than Tipple if he wants to go, because yeah, he doesn't help for Puff Pirate. At the moment, what we're seeing is him basically mirroring the Tipple in terms of his pace, but what he really needs is to find a little bit more on him in order to give himself a chance to make the pass. But yeah, for these guys, it will certainly be a very intense race right now, even though it's only for 11th place, only 6 or so points. Let me check that quickly. That'll be for 7 points for the championship, as opposed to 5 for whoever finishes 12th there. So it's a matter of 2 points, and of course these guys are competitive. These guys will be wanting to battle for every single position they can get, and given how the race is panned out for these guys, they will know that 11th, unless something crazy happens out in front, 11th is probably the best they can hope for, and that's why they'll be hoping or fighting hard for it. Puff Pirate having a think about it there, to look up the inside into turn 5, and he's forced Tipple onto the curb there wide. Is that gonna allow Puff Pirate a move up the inside here? This is where Kanuma went wide earlier, of course, and let Clausen's through. Camera isn't helping right now. They're very close on the exit there. And Puff Pirate is still on the outside. Tipple getting so hard on the curb, but then Puff Pirate very hard on the curb on the outside. There's a car off the track. Who is that?
That was Mini Black. Mini Black was up in front of him. We just saw him there on the grass. He's kind of facing a wall. What
he's retired, I think.
Doing?
I think he's retired.
He has. He's disappeared. Has he left the session? He's gone completely. He may have had a disconnect there, which is very unfortunate. We just saw him there at the bottom of the screen off the side. Mini Black was closing down on Remy Blue as well, I believe, holding a relatively similar sort of gap to these two, maybe slightly longer, but yeah, there's that must really suck for him. And obviously we're watching these two guys, they've now obviously gained a position from that. Puff Pirates up into 11th, Tipple is now in 10th, but yeah, that battle's now switched from 11th for a battle for 10th.
Yep. Still only 2 points in terms of difference between the positions, but that means they're not battling for, or whoever wins this will get 10 points. Or 9 points even for the championship, I believe. Puff Pirate still very close together. He was really giving it everything in that battle, trying to get through. Tipple was being fair, I think, with the amount of room he left him. There weren't any contact between him as far as I saw, but Puff Pirate still has to settle behind. He can't find a way. Slightly closer down the start-finish straight this time, though, in getting that slipstream effect a bit more than what we've seen previously, and he's super close on the exit, going down now towards turn number 3. That really should be turn number 2, but no, it looked like he was going to be closer than he actually was there. Didn't quite have the traction to keep up with Tipple, and now this is of course where their side-by-side stuff started happening on the previous lap. Can Puff Pirate get close enough this time? No, I think he's gonna be too far back, and unless the slipstream is pulling him in. I think it is just about, but still, it's not enough to put Tipple off this time around. And of course, rest in peace, Brownski's team. He's just mentioned in the chat, the really bad team, which is not. Yeah, well, I guess it's a slightly ironic pun there. They've certainly not had the best day today with Brownski disconnecting. Oh, and that's not the best luck for Puff Pirate. He's just lost the back end there. Out of the kink at the top of the hill, and that'll give Tipple some rest, easing off the pressure a little bit. He's dropped a couple of seconds behind now. That's unfortunate for us, because obviously it was good to see these guys battle, but Puff Pirate was the first man to put a foot wrong in this battle, and that's unfortunate. He's gonna have so much harder task now just to close that gap up before he can potentially challenge him again. But yeah, as we mentioned, the Brownski is already out of the race. And of course, Mini Black was another man in that team. He is now out as well. And Hideaki still running, but out of the points. Or no, he's out as well, isn't he? He's still in the session, but he's not racing. So all of them DNFing this race. So that is not quite ideal for them.
No. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, Puff Pirate. He kind of brought that mistake on himself. Unfortunately, he did take a little bit of a corner cut on the inside, and obviously bounced over the curb. that is there. And it's quite a big one as well. I probably obviously unsettled the car, and then the wet conditions just amplified that and put him into a little bit of a half spin. But he did manage to do a very good job of regaining control of the car and keeping it out of the wall as we saw he went onto the grass. But yeah, lost a lot of time from that. Just coming out really looking through the guys up in the top 8. They all seem to be spread out with a fair few seconds between them. It looks like Kowicki and Kanuma are the closest drivers out of the bunch at the moment. Remy Boo is now pressure free from Mini Black after his unfortunate disconnect. Currently holding 9th to 10th. Just go back. TonyR's now in 12th position, so he's worked himself up and gained a couple of places quite nicely ahead of Century, but he's now got quite a way to go before he gets to Puff Pirate. Puff Pirate's just gone under the Corvette bridge, and TonyR is coming down into the very tight left-hander and will be passing underneath that same Corvette bridge now. So
10 seconds or so, maybe?
Possibly in and around there, yeah. I would have said something around that sort of gap. Century is currently holding the 13th, Hendrix 14th. Silver Arrow seems to have dropped back a little bit. He was behind his teammate, but I've just seen Blue Rat in 15th, Nostra in 16th, Maisie in 17th. Fredder is in 18th. We haven't really seen much of Fredder this time around. He's kind of been near the front of the midfield for a lot of the previous races, but doesn't seem to be having a race that's going his way.
Yeah, he had that great race, didn't he, at Sakita, of course, when he was in that battle for the podium. Could have had a podium. I think he had some contact with Today, was it?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Certainly.
My
He
old
was
age is
battling
coming
and had
through.
some kind of contact, which meant he dropped out of the podium positions, but still a very strong 5th place finish on that occasion. Apart from that, though, he's not had the best finishes, but yeah, not working out for him today. And yeah, I think Kaki at the front, he's just controlling the race at the moment. Half a second quicker than Claessen's on the previous lap, even though Claessen's got the fastest lap of the race at the moment with a 2:11.4 as opposed to Kaki's 2:11.5 as it stands. Unfortunately, there's no bonus point for fastest lap in this league as we got. Is that? Oh, that's just a car being lapped there. That would be Silver Arrow, wouldn't it? Being lapped in that Mercedes
I imagine so. He is at the back, yes. I believe Silver Arrow may have made a pit stop. That's my only real explanation as to why he's dropped that far back and lost that much time.
Yeah, he's certainly further back than where we saw him before. So yeah, Claessen's looking very good at pace, but of course that gap that Kaki managed to build in the early stages of the race is just way too much for him to catch, you would imagine, unless Kaki somehow makes a mistake. It's about 10, 11, 12 seconds between those two at the front, and then another 15 or so from Claessen's down to Gronstra. And then another 5 or so from Gronstra down to Kanuma. Yeah, from Kanuma though, down to Kowicki isn't that big. That's only about a second.
Yeah.
Let's see how they've been faring
Difference
on
between
previous lap times.
Those two. Rhaegar and Dinder aren't too far apart as well. It'd be slightly bigger gap than Kanuma and Kowicki, but it's not by a huge amount. And I think Puff Pirate is closing back up on Tipple once again.
Oh.
They are back where they were before. Only a car length between these two guys. I think Tipple may have had a pretty poor exit coming out the carousel because Puff Pirate's had an almighty run and is now actually looking to the outside of Tipple coming into this next right-hander out in the back section in the forest. Puff Pirate running out a little bit wide there, and because of that, catching the curb, wasn't quite able to get the power down, and yeah, wasn't quite able to pull up alongside Tipple, but it does look like Puff Pirate is certainly the stronger out of these two drivers at the moment. It was a 2.5 tenths that Puff Pirate took out of Tipple on the previous lap, which was obviously the one after after Puff Pirate had made his mistake. And now looking at this lap time, yeah, 9 tenths once again. Tipple dropping off his pace from a low to mid 214 up to a 215.1. So yeah, Tipple must have made a mistake somewhere along the line, which has allowed Puff Pirate to get back up onto the back for the battle of 10th place.
Good for us. Let's see how this developed. I thought he was going to pull off an almighty around the outside move there on turn 12, was it, on the previous lap? Unfortunately for him, I think he would have been able to do it if that curb on the outside was flatter. But it really does put the car off quite a bit because it's quite a tall edge on the outside there, and you could just see how much his car was jumping over it and compromising his exit. Same with this curb here, if you run all the way over it. Which is good in the sense that he punishes Star for going wide, but of course it did take away Puff Pirate's opportunity to make that around the outside move stick, so he still has to stay behind Tipple. He's only got what would that be, 3.5 laps now to make that move stick. He's been trying for a long time. He's finally closed the gap again, and that is the time he's got left to do it. I'm sure he's fully aware of that himself. But of course, Tipple has shown himself to be not an easy one to overtake, and still you can see the very differing lines there. If Puff Pirate could go around the outside of the carousel, that would be the move of the season, I would say. But Tipple not allowing him to do any such a thing. And through the kink, Tipple's car looking very, very good indeed, managing to keep the gap there to Puff Pirate, continuing to kick up the spray just to make it that little bit harder for Puff Pirate to spot his braking points. But does it nicely, keeps tied to the back of Tipple here. 2 corners left to go in this lap. Can he stay close enough? This is what he really needs to do. We got to the 2 big straights on the track, of course, the start-finish straight and then the one after turn 3. That's where we need to be very close to the back of Tipple if he wants to make a move stick. Of course, he can make move stick elsewhere if he forces Tipple maybe into mistakes, if the Tipple runs wide somewhere. But this is really his best opportunity. But you can just see, just like we've seen so many times previously in this race, his car just doesn't have the straight lines performance to really pull in Tipple at any effective rate.
No, it's a little bit frustrating to watch because these two guys, that it's quite clear that Papyrus has the pace over Tipple at the moment, but it just doesn't seem to be working in his favour and trying to find a good place to do it. Getting a good exit out of turn 3 there. I was going to say 2, but it's apparently for some unknown reason it's turn 3. Yeah, he needs to go good exit out of there to get the slipstream and get the run down into here. Unfortunately, he got the outside wheels up on the curb on the outside there coming into the braking zone, but even still Tipple's slow on the exit. I'm wondering if Tipple's having traction problems here in a couple of places. We are seeing his car a little bit skittish coming into that fast right-handed kink after the carousel, and obviously that will also affect his drive coming out of the carousel as well. Puff Pirate just seems to have the more planted car and probably slightly better tyre conditions. We'll probably see Puff Pirate once again running out wide, coming through this corner. There he goes, you can see it. He's probably trying to find that extra grip. Will he cut back once again? A tiny bit, but not really. Still taking that wider line on the exit. And now coming into this fast right-handed kink, Tipple just kind of trucks the car in, which does kind of throw the driver off behind a little bit, but it looks like Puff Pirate's got an almighty run on Tipple here. He's going to be forced to the outside though into this next right-hander. Will these two drivers be able to make it cleanly through? Puff Pirate trying to go around the outside this time, not using the curb on the exit. Will he get the drive coming out of the corner to slot himself up into 10th place? And it looks like he has, but he's got a little bit deep there, but manages to pull it back for a late apex and shuts the door on Tipple, preventing him from making any opportunity to try and regain the position. And now coming onto the start-finish straight, this time it's going to be Tipple who's going to have the slipstream on the Z4 of the Puff Pirate coming down this start-finish straight down towards turn 1, and now I can see he is starting to close with that slipstream with the speed advantage, pulling out, coming in towards the braking zone. He tucks back in once again, just going to follow him through for this first turn, and I imagine will do so through the non-existent turn 2 and then down into turn 3 at the bottom of the hill here. And here is going to be key, trying to get a good exit coming out of this onto the next straight. Just waiting for that camera to come around. As you can see, TonyR there in the background is slowly starting to close up on the back of these guys, but he has got quite a long way to go. But even still, he's 2.8 seconds on the previous lap that he's taken out of Tipple. So he's closing at a very, very rapid rate, but I don't think, yeah, like you just said there, Fizzy, I don't think he's going to be close enough before the end of this race.
Well, still, it's a long lap though, so I guess if people really start to struggle with his tires, it could be a chance. But yeah, on the second time of asking then, Puff Pirate finally managed to pull off that round the outside move at turn 12, which he already tried once before. Beautiful move it was indeed. I feel like up ahead, I did see briefly on the scoreboard that Rhaegar was
Has closed
behind
up.
Ramivo, but I feel like that might have been a glitch because there's quite a bit of gap between them at the moment. Either way, Rhaegar though is not far behind Dinda in about the 7th. That could be potentially one that might shake out a little bit on the final lap. Kaki's now started the final lap of the race. These guys will be coming around to start it in just a couple of corners time. But let's see then. This is probably the closest battle we'll have. We have Kaki in the lead. He's still got that 10-second-ish gap to Claessen's in second place. Both of them were running so strong pace. Then this is the closest battle we got going in the top 10. Dinda trying to break the slip gym quite a bit going down the straight. Rhaegar not really close enough. This is a McLaren GT3 against a rough GT3 car. Who will win out in the battle for 7th place? I think this is, getting that 7th place will be the difference of 3 points compared to finishing 8th. So it's quite important for the championship as well. Can Rhaegar line himself up there going down towards turn 5, Aoki?
I imagine he will do. It looks like that Rhaegar's got slightly better tyres, and then the Dinda's looking a little bit more loose on the rear end. And although on the previous lap, so 2 laps ago, Dinda was quicker than Rhaegar by 0.6 of a second. He's gone and lost out about that much as Rhaegar actually loses his car on the exit. Is spun. And he's gone into the wall, he's clattered the wall. Ramibo's gone, yeah, like you said, just gone through up into 8th place. Rhaegar slotting down into 9th, so we've unfortunately lost out on the battle between the two drivers there. I was just trying to work out the amount of time that Rhaegar had lost to, or had gained, sorry, on Dinda on the previous lap, as I imagine Dinda must have made a mistake for that gap to close quite substantially, and it does seem like it's a good 7 or 8 tenths of a second. Fortunately for Rhaegar though, he's only lost 1 position and has still got a bit of a gap to Puff Pirate behind, who has pulled away a little bit from Tipple, and TonyR has continued to close down. I'm just going to drop back a little bit further just to see where these guys are. It looks like
need to shoot in something here. Yeah, Kagi's won the race. We didn't get to see him cross the line. Unfortunately, as I was about to watch Claessen's go across the line in 2nd place, my game is frozen. So we're gonna have to have some audio commentary from Yoki. So Yoki, take us through the final few finishers here.
Okay, well, Kanuma is coming across the start-finish line now to, I believe, finish in 4th place. Yes, it does. Nod's just not in 6th, neither is Maisie. It's frustrating when these positions go all out of whack. But yeah, Klawitsky came home in 5th, not too far away from Kanuma. Ycoms was in 6th. Just trying to pick up the next driver, who I believe was Dinda in 7th. Then we're going to have Ramibu come across the line in 8th place. It will then be Rhaegar come home in 9th. 10th will go to Puff Pirate. TonyR is going to come home in 12th. Was closing and getting relatively close to the back of Tipple, but still wasn't quite close enough to really challenge. Give it another lap or two, would have been right up onto the rear bumper and may even potentially have been passed. Tipple, such was the rate that TonyR was actually closing down. Over 3 seconds on that final lap there.
Wow. Was
the difference between the two. So obviously the fresher tyres working in his favour in terms of giving him the pace that he the pace that he would have wanted, but not the track position, because obviously he lost out quite substantially on that, unfortunately. I was just skipping all over the places. I believe Andrex is the last person to come across the start-finish line for 15th place. Blue Rat coming home in 14th, Centra in 12th. No, 13th, sorry. Yeah, TonyR 12th. Tipple, Puff Pirate, Rhaegar, Ramibu, Dinda, Ycoms in 6th, Klawitsky in 5th, Kanuma 4th, Grunstra 3rd, Claessen's in 2nd, and then Kaki coming away with another win this season.
which means that he would have had 36 points. Kanuma would have had 26 points for the 4th position. So in fact, Kaki does not take the lead of the championship. He is behind by 1 point.
Oh wow!
It's taken him his good time to catch up, despite having 4 wins in these 5 races. That 14th place from Sakito still really, really hurting him in the championship. But now it's 1 point at the top between those 2 drivers. But hello, Classens.
Hey guys,
Hello.
Hello.
how are you doing?
We're doing pretty good, to be honest. I assume you are doing pretty well, good as well, because the pace you showed in that race, after getting out of the battles you were in towards the start of the race, you had such good pace. I think in the end you managed to get the fastest lap of the race, actually by 1/10 over Kaki as well. So your pace was blistering. Unfortunately, the gap to Kaki was just a bit too much in the end for you. But wow, how do you feel after that one?
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I didn't know I was this fast in the rain and in the practice as well. I barely managed 11s, but I had this on race pace, so it was awesome. I had some great fights, and yeah, it was a blast, man.
Yeah, it's great to hear. Certainly. Where did you qualify? I can't remember quite.
Third.
Third? Okay, so you were obviously still good on the qualifying pace as well. But we did see you have a few kind of struggles right at the start of the race. You dropped. Well, you did pass your teammate at the start, didn't you? But then you dropped.
Yeah, I had some struggles, and you know it was really hard to see in the spray, and it was really difficult. And at the moment I was behind Kanuma, and he was much faster on the straights, and I just couldn't pass him. And I made a small mistake. I tapped him, but he regained the place pretty fast. But yeah, I don't know. I feel bad about that. But after I got out of the traffic, it was great.
Yeah, we obviously saw you make the mistake at the kink as well, just after having that little incident with Kanuma.
Yeah. Just
I was gonna
lost
ask-
focus. Yeah.
How was the tyres for you? We weren't too sure what it was going to be in terms of strategy. Brownski, who unfortunately disconnected, popped back up in chat saying that it would be a 0 stopper for most people. Is it relatively comfortable doing that 0 stop?
Yeah, I didn't try a complete race, in the laps, but yeah, I was just looking at Kaki. I was like, if he's going to pit, I'm going to pit, but he didn't. But yeah, at the end, it was a bit harder. I think from lap 25, 24, I lost around, a second, maybe a bit more, but it was still manageable. The car was sliding a bit more, but I had the electronics and the differential set up perfectly, so yeah, it was manageable.
Excellent. Well, it's got you a very good second place. Congratulations on that. Hopefully
Thank you
we'll
very
see
much.
you on the podium once again in the upcoming races.
That's definitely a goal.
Yeah, for sure, I imagine. But yeah, thank you very much, mate. And once again, congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Tony, how are you feeling?
Hello, friends.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
Why should I not?
Oh, you had a very good first half of the race, despite having no force feedback. We heard from Brownski on the stream
yeah.
chat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
force feedback bug, which was bugging me quite a lot in the beginning. And
Good.
yeah, I basically wanted to chill out a little bit in the middle of the race, so I took a little pit stop.
Very interesting tactic, considering no one else seemed to do it. Was it?
Yeah, to be
Were you
honest,
expecting?
Yogi, I just didn't know. I didn't make my homework.
Okay, fair enough. I did wonder that if you weren't entirely sure and just hoping that everyone else would do a pit stop as well, but
No.
it was a bit of a shame. to see
Yeah,
no one else
I
did.
couldn't believe that the rain tire would actually hold for 28 laps, because it was the tire wear indicator is at 0 after 13 laps or something. So it's really
Yeah.
strange, and well, I didn't know.
I
But I was quite happy with the race and with the pace. It was quite nice.
Certainly a lot better than last season's Road America race. That's for sure.
don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
about 28 laps better than that one. But yeah, I mean, you haven't quite had the start of the season you would have wanted, I guess it's fair to say, considering you were third in the championship last season, and now going into this race at least you were in 14th. how do you see your goals for the rest of the season now?
Well, considering that I still have not that much time to practice at the moment for the next, well, I would say for the next 4 weeks, because I'm moving and I have so much stuff to do here. But maybe after that, I have no idea, for the last 3 races maybe. And probably for the Bathurst race, I will definitely prepare for that, because that's my favorite track.
You'll do well in the McLaren there as well, as I remember.
Yes.
Joining a practice lobby with you, and you were in a McLaren and extremely quick around that circuit. I think probably a second or two quicker than I was. I was struggling to keep up.
Yeah, it was also the only track where I could keep up with Massa last season, if you noticed that.
Few hidden secrets. But, these last couple of races have gone a little bit better for you compared to the start of the season, but hopefully the form does return and you are able to pull out another couple of good results to push yourself up the leaderboard a little bit more as well.
Yeah, and hope I get less bugs, because I had the pit occupied bug, I had the FFB bug now and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just throwing you back a little bit.
Yeah.
Understandably frustrating, but yeah, your pace was good today, so hopefully you're back to your
Yeah.
pace very soon. And yeah, good work, and we'll see you later.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yes. Cheers, Tony.
Let's see, who was the last guy we were wanting to hear from? Klabutsky is still in the lobby, so let's drag him down here. Hello, Mr. Klabutsky.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you feeling after that race?
It was a pretty intense one, I have to say. Driving with a pad, I had a cramp a few times on the long straights, so that wasn't so good, but overall, yeah, the first few laps were really intense, because you couldn't see anything on the straights and stuff like that. You just had to look at the car in front for the braking lights and stuff like that, but yeah, after a few laps, when it settled down a bit, I think it was quite okay.
But at least you had the cramp on the straights and not through the corners. That's always a plus. But how were you finding the tyre wear this time round on the pad? The rain.
It wasn't too bad. I just compared myself with Ycoms from the Project Cars. How's it called? Yeah, Profiler.
Yep.
And we had pretty similar tyre wear, so it wasn't actually too bad. It was worse than yesterday in the social, but yeah, it was the same for all, I guess. So I was surprised that Tony pitted, but yeah, gift for me and for all the others behind me, I guess.
Yeah, obviously. Well, it was only our second race in the Elite League, of course, having come up from Pro, and last time you were a little bit in the wars, had some incidents, but nice to see that you managed to come through it with good pace and seemingly staying out of trouble in this one and get a good result.
Yeah, I think that was the main target for today, having no incidents and stuff like that. One time it got pretty close with Claessens in turn 1 and 2, but yeah, I think the points were more important than to battle for positions and maybe do a mistake and stuff like that. So yeah.
Good. Well, you got a good haul of points tonight. Hopefully you continue the good form and bag yourself some more throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I hope so. I really like the track, but yeah, I know the Z4 won't be good around Bathurst and stuff. Yeah, let's hope for a good race the next time.
Yeah. Well, we'll catch you up here soon, hopefully again, and good luck.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Yes, goodbye.
And as we drop him down into the driver lobby, he's pretty much the only one left there. Everyone seems to have been so tired from the race that it basically went off now. Which just shows how long we've been carrying this stream on for. So I think it's probably time to end it. I mean, we know, in terms of the driver championship, that Kaki gets closed into 1 point behind Kanuma now. Of course, if you want a full view of the driver championship after this round, it'll be updated on the AOR website either tonight or tomorrow at some point, so you can check it there. Or of course, wait until the next stream next week when we'll show it all at the start of that one. And those who are watching this on YouTube will hopefully have a graphic on the screen showing it right now. But next week we will be back again with another stream, and that will be at Dubai in the dry. It'll be completely clear weather around Dubai, and like in season 3 when we were there the first time and it was in the middle of the night. Now it'll be a lot of sun going on. Dubai, obviously very hot track temps, I'd imagine.
Yep.
In the middle of the day, and it's international layout as well actually, so a slightly shorter lap, and we're gonna have a lot of laps, 40 laps around Dubai International. We'll be back with another race then, with all these drivers fighting it out of 40 laps at Dubai International. So Yorkie, thank you very much for commentating as always.
That's alright, thank you. Apologies about the slight internet laggy issues at the beginning, but sorted those. Hopefully we won't have them next week.
Yeah, we got through it again. That's good. Thank you as well to all the viewers. Most of them are out of air by now, I think, since we've been dragging it on so long as always. But especially to those who are still here by now, thank you very much for watching. And we hope you'll tune in as well next week for the final race before the mid-season break, of course. So we have a 1 week break after round 6, but we have to get through that one first. So next week, same time, 8 PM UK time, we'll be back again with Dubai International. We hope to catch you then. Goodbye.
Thank you, goodbye.